Imagine walking across a tiny island and suddenly realizing the giant lizard staring at you can smell blood from nearly 6 miles away. And worse, it might already be following you. Komodo dragons don't just hunt. They wait. They stalk, and sometimes they let their prey die slowly. From toxic bites to eating entire animals in minute. These creatures look like something from the dinosaur age. But the scariest part? They still exist today. 1. They can smell death from miles away. Komodo dragons have one of the most terrifying hunting abilities in the animal kingdom. They can smell dead animals from nearly 10 kilometers away. And here's the creepy part. They don't even use their nose like normal predators. They flick their tongue into the air, collecting tiny scent. Particles then analyze them using a special organ inside their mouth. It's basically like a biological tracking system. A wounded deer hiding in the forest? A dying animal across the island? A carcass under thick bushes? The Komodo dragon already knows. One park ranger in Indonesia once described watching a Komodo suddenly change direction for no visible reason, only to discover a dead goat almost an hour away. 2. Their bite is way worse than people thought. For years, scientists believed Komodo dragons killed using deadly bacteria in their saliva. And honestly, their mouths are disgusting. They eat rotting meat. They rip apart corpses. And bits of flesh often stay trapped between their teeth. But then researchers discovered something even more terrifying. Komodo dragons actually have venom. Real venom. When they bite, toxins flow into the victim's body, preventing blood from clotting and causing a rapid drop in blood pressure. So prey animals don't just get injured. They slowly weaken. They bleed. They panic. And eventually collapse. One deer escaped after being bitten and ran deep into the forest. The deer eventually became too weak to stand, and the dragon calmly began eating it alive. They eat almost everything. You probably think Komodo dragons only eat large animals. Nope. These monsters will eat almost anything they can overpower. Deer, wild pigs, birds, snakes, goats, and sometimes other Komodo dragons. Yes, they are cannibals. Adult Komodos regularly eat smaller ones. That's why baby Komodo dragons spend years hiding in trees. Imagine being born and immediately needing to escape your own species. Scientists once recorded an adult Komodo swallowing a smaller dragon whole. No chewing, no hesitation. Just one giant reptile consuming another. And if food becomes scarce, they'll even dig up graves. Or they can run way faster than you expect. Most people think Komodo dragons are slow. That's a huge mistake. Sure, they look lazy when lying in the sun. But when attacking, they can sprint up to 20 kilometers per hour. That's fast enough to catch a terrified human off guard. And unlike crocodiles, Komodos don't always ambush from water. They charge directly, low to the ground, mouth open, tongue flicking. One tourist guide described hearing the sound of heavy claws pounding the dirt behind him while escorting visitors. He turned around, and a Komodo was sprinting straight toward them. Luckily, the ranger scared it away with a long stick. But imagine seeing a giant reptile charging at you with venom dripping from its mouth. And trust me, the next facts get even crazier. Because one Komodo dragon once survived after eating something that should have killed it instantly. And the final fact? It explains why ancient humans may have feared giant reptiles long before modern history. 5. They can swallow massive chunks of meat. Komodo dragons don't eat politely. They tear. They yank. And they swallow enormous chunks whole. Their flexible jaws and expandable stomachs allow them to consume up to 80% of their body weight in a single meal. Imagine a human eating another human-sized body in one sitting. That's basically what a Komodo can do. After feeding, their stomach becomes so huge they can barely move. And here's the gross part. They sometimes vomit up indigestible material like horns, hair, and teeth. One researcher described hearing loud cracking sounds as a Komodo smashed bones apart with raw force. And when multiple dragons feed together, it turns into chaos. Biting, fighting, blood everywhere. 6. Baby Komodos live in trees. Baby Komodo dragons live completely different lives from adults. They climb trees. A lot. Why? Because the ground is basically a death zone. Adult Komodos will absolutely eat them if given the chance. So young dragons survive by staying high above the forest floor. They eat insects, eggs, and tiny animals while hiding among branches, and they're surprisingly agile. Tiny claws gripping bark, constantly watching below. It's like a reptilian horror movie. Then, as they grow larger, they slowly descend from the trees and join the monsters below. 7. Their skin is basically armor. If you look closely at a Komodo dragon, its skin almost looks prehistoric. That's because underneath those scales, they have tiny bone plates, real armor embedded inside their skin. These structures are called osteoderms, and they make the dragon incredibly tough during fights. When two giant males battle over territory or females, the fight gets violent. They slam each other. They bite. They wrestle standing on two legs. And those armored scales help reduce serious injuries. One battle between two males lasted so long that both dragons collapsed from exhaustion afterward. It looked less like lizards and more like dinosaurs fighting for dominance. 8. They can reproduce without males. This next fact sounds completely fake, but it's real. Female Komodo dragons can reproduce without males. It's called parthenogenesis. Basically, a female can produce offspring entirely on her own. No mating required. This shocked scientists when it was first discovered. One female living in captivity suddenly laid fertile egg despite never being near a male, and somehow the babies developed anyway. In isolated island environments, this ability may help the species survive. But honestly, it also makes them sound even more like prehistoric creatures from another world. 9. Humans have been attacked. Komodo dragons usually avoid humans, but not always. There have been real attacks, and some were deadly. In one terrifying case, a young boy wandered too close to a Komodo on an Indonesian island. The dragon attacked suddenly. Villagers rushed in to save him. Other incidents involved tourists, park workers, and local residents. Why? Because Komodos are opportunistic predators. If they sense weakness, panic, or blood, they may attack. That's why trained rangers carry long forked sticks designed specifically to control Komodo dragons, and even experienced guides remain extremely cautious around them. Because deep down, these animals are still apex predators. They may be the last remaining monsters of a lost world. Here's the craziest part of all. Komodo dragons are relatively small compared to some of their ancient relatives. Millions of years ago, giant monitor lizards much larger than today's. Komodos existed across the planet. One species called Megalania may have reached over 20 feet long. A reptile so massive it could hunt giant prehistoric mammals. And many scientists believe Komodo dragons are living reminders of that ancient world. When you watch one walking slowly across the island, tongue flicking, eyes locked forward, it doesn't feel modern. It feels ancient, like a creature that survived extinction by pure brutality. And maybe that's why people become so fascinated by them. Because Komodo dragons don't just look dangerous. They look like something that should have disappeared with the dinosaurs. So after hearing all of that, which Komodo dragon fact surprised you the most? The venom? The cannibalism? Or the fact they can reproduce completely alone? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more insane animal videos that sound fake but are 100% real, make sure to subscribe before the next creature finds you first.